it was a very heartwarming sentiment from Tucker Carlson for me to hear him say, put it that way, that of course these people aren't going to win. And in 5 years, we're going to look back and think, how the hell did this even happen? Tucker Carlson, I think, just ended the Israel first people. He's kind of ended Israel, and it's all wrapped up with Mark Levin, but I want to show you how he's ended Israel first. Here we go. Because a government, well, he'll tell you.
It's outrageous, and people were justly upset about it. Absolutely, they were upset about it. So where will this go? Well, of course, the people who think the U.S. government should act always and everywhere on behalf of its own citizens, the America First people, those people are going to win the debate. In fact, there's never actually been a real debate. But when people's mind fog clears and they can think about what just happened, they'll understand that this was never about the Jews or anti-Semitism, much less Hitler, who's been dead for 80 years as of April. No, it was about, should the United States act in its own interests, or should it subvert its own interests on behalf of a foreign power with a very effective lobby in Washington? That's exactly what the debate is. And the answer is, of course, no. So the America First people are the people who just think the government should serve its own citizens, which, let me remind you, is the only legitimate rationale for representative government. In other words, if the government is not representing its own citizens, if it doesn't care about its own citizens, it's not only off track, it's illegitimate. It has no basis to govern because it's a representative democracy. So you are morally bound, you're legally bound to represent your own people. That's the only purpose of having a government in our country, is to represent our people. And if you're not doing that, you're not legitimate. So they will win. And in a year or two, we're going to look back on what we've been watching for the last month or last 8 months, and we're going to realize this is exactly like BLM or MeToo. You know, at the core, there may have been a point, but basically, it's buffoonery.
So what he just said there was that the America First people are going to win. So this BS argument that's happening, where the Israel Firsters are calling everybody who has a legitimate concern and wants to put America first, they're calling them anti-Semites, and and even worse things than that. And so what he's saying is those people are going to lose, which is why you see them getting more and more desperate, calling people like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon, even people who are paragons of the right and the conservative movement. Tucker Carlson, the most popular conservative in the country. Candace Owens, the #1 podcast in the world. And so they've got to try to make them out to be like Hitler. And they've got to make them out to be anti-Semites and bigots. And that's ironically exactly what they spent the last 10 years fighting against, because they've got no argument. They've got no argument. And so what he just said is that, of course, those people are going to lose, and the people who put our own country first are going to win, because if a government doesn't put their own people first, they're illegitimate. It's an illegitimate government. And he's right about that. Okay, he's got more to say.
It is an effort to divert your attention from the real crisis. And we're going to wonder, wait a second, since when did the institutional right, conservatives, people who run the think tanks and the dumb little magazines nobody reads, and the people who blow Viet on Fox News, since when did those people become completely committed to identity politics and censorship? Because they are committed to identity politics. That's what this is. It's identity politics. Of course. It's group over nation. Of course. It's another country above our country, a tiny country, an irrelevant country over our country. And people are going to look at that and say, wait a second, we thought, in fact, we voted for you because we thought that the two things we could be assured you believed were you were against identity politics. You lectured us about woke for like 10 years. You're against woke because you're against identity politics. You're against tribalism. And here you are not only embracing it, but using it as a cudgel to hit people in the face. And maybe even more shocking, we knew for a fact you were against censorship. I mean, isn't that the whole point of the Trump election? We're against censorship. You can't censor people in a free society. You can't have censorship in a democracy. How will you have the information required to vote? Censorship is totally incompatible with democratic government, period. And it's also, by the way, illegal under the First Amendment to the Bill of Rights. And Republicans just won an election on that platform. And all of a sudden we learn there's really nobody in the world more excited about censorship than a neocon podcaster or a National Review staffer. They just love it.
So he makes the point beautifully that what the Trump election was about, not only Trump, because he's instituted a new DEI just for Jews. He's instituted hate speech laws just for Jews. He's censoring. He's sending the goons out to college campuses to arrest students for writing op-eds against Israel. And then you got people like Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, and all those, and Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham, and most politicians in America being Israel first. And most of those people, it's because they fear AIPAC. But some people because they're legit crazy, like Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin. And he just told you that they're the things that we were supposed to be opposed to, which is what we've been saying here. This is what you're supposed to be opposed to all these foreign wars. You're supposed to be opposed to the explosion of the deficit. You're supposed to be opposed to giving $200 billion more to a Pentagon that can't pass an audit. You're supposed to be against censorship. You're supposed to be for freedom of speech. You're not supposed to be for collective punishment. You're not supposed to be for a genocide. So he's just blowing that up. It's just over. So those people are the opposite of what real conservatism is. They're the opposite of what real America first is. So they're Israel first, and he just did it. And he said, of course, those people aren't going to win. And in 5 years, we're going to look back on this. And we're going to think like it was crazy, like how we treated each other during COVID, or the Black Lives Matter, which all that stuff turned out to be a scam. And so that's it. It was a very heartwarming sentiment from Tucker Carlson for me to hear him put it that way, that of course these people aren't going to win. And in 5 years, we're going to look back and think, how the hell did this even happen? So good for Tucker Carlson. That's a great message. Tucker Carlson has been getting it from all sides because he's telling the truth about Israel, and he interviewed Nick Fuentes, and who's, I think, one of the most influential people now that Charlie Kirk is gone with young men. And let's hear what he has to say.
People aren't going to forget that. And in a year or 2 or 5 years or whatever, we're going to look back as we do on COVID and the BLM riots and the MeToo movement. And we're going to ask ourselves, how did we fall for another moral panic, another social media driven moral panic? How did everyone go insane all at once, denouncing each other and denouncing old friends and beclowning themselves because they're caught up in this moment and they can't see that they're betraying the very principles they claimed like 6 months ago they would give their lives for. And those people are going to feel shame, and many of us will feel contempt for them more than we already do. So that's going to happen. They can't win this debate. It's not actually a debate. It's them name calling. So that's going to happen. Rest assured.
And if you'd like to hear my jokes about Mark Levin, come see me in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane. We'll see you in Burbank, California, the day after Thanksgiving. It's a Friday, November 28th. We're at Flappers Comedy Club. Come see us January 11th in Waikiki at the Blue Note Theater. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Come see us in Australia. Second show's added in Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane. We'll see you in Burbank, California, the day after Thanksgiving. It's a Friday. And then Pottstown, Pennsylvania, December 6th. Plus, January 11th, we're going to be in Waikiki at the Blue Note. Tickets not available yet for them, but go to jimmydore.com for a link for all the other tickets.